Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video from Type 1 Detour. My name's Chris, and with my wife Amanda and our two daughters, we're traveling this country one detour at a time. And you may be wondering why we have all this vinegar sitting here. Well, today we are descaling our hot water heater. So let's roll that intro and let's get to it. So we have been in this full time for a little over a year, about a year and 3 months. So it is definitely time to change our anode rod here. And I figured, well, why not just descale it? I know they recommend maybe once every 2 years, but it's been about 15, 16 months. I want to just see what it's actually like in there so I know in the future how often I have to do it. So let's go through this step by step. So the first thing that we want to do is actually shut off the water heater from inside. Next, we're going to shut off the water heater from outside. So the next step in this process is to turn all the faucets inside the RV to the hot water so we can drain all the hot water out of the water heater. All the hot water is out of the system, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn the city water off. Now you might be wondering why I ran all the hot water out of it first and left the city water on. Well, it's because I actually want the water heater to be somewhat filled up, so that way when I first pull out that anode rod, there's a lot of water in there and a lot of pressure that is going to kind of bring out all those crystals and the buildup that's already in there. So we're going to release the pressure tab here in a second, but for those wondering why I didn't just turn the city water off and empty the water out first, it's because I want that natural flow of water to kind of flush it out that first time. And now that we've released the pressure, we're actually going to keep this open. So we're going to keep this up to relieve some of the pressure. And next up, we're going to get our socket set, and we are going to take that old anode rod out. All right, let's get this anode rod out. That is what an anode rod looks like after about 15 months on the road. You can see all the buildup on there. And all that means is that it's doing its job. So this is what comes out, and this is what it's supposed to look like. You can see the difference. But like I said, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're supposed to look like. So now we're going to use the flushing wand here, flush out all of that extra calcium and buildup that's in there. And then we're going to fill her back up with some vinegar. I mean, you can see these little pieces of stuff that are still coming out. So we just want to flush it real good, get all that stuff out. All right, so now we're just gonna let this water just come out here, strain for a couple minutes, and then we're just gonna put this little 3/4 inch plug in there, and then we are going to basically just siphon and pump some distilled vinegar into the water heater, and then we're gonna let it just sit for a couple hours. So let's get that set up. Let's get you some plumber's tape, and we'll just throw some plumber's tape around this real quick. Some on there, just a little bit, just so vinegar doesn't leak out. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we're basically putting it in winterize mode, because when you winterize it, you're siphoning the winterizing fluid into the plumbing system. So that's what we're going to do, but we're going to keep the water heater on. So what I mean by that is when this red button here is in the vertical position, that means that water is coming into the water heater. When it goes side to side, like winterize says, because you don't want to get that stuff into the water heater, when it's side to side, when it's horizontal, it's bypassing the water heater. We don't want to bypass yet. We still want this vinegar to go into the water heater. So we'll turn everything into the winterizing position, which says horizontal, 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 but we're going to keep this up. All right, so now we're gonna siphon the vinegar, which is in here. Always put your bucket up here instead of all the way down on the ground. Gravity puts less pressure on the water pump to do this. So I just have an old hose here, just cut the end off of it. We're gonna stick this in here, okay? And we're already in winterize mode here. So basically all we're going to do is we are going to turn on our water pump, and it's going to start sucking it in. So our 4.5–5 gallons of vinegar are in, but I want to get the water heater all the way filled up. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just fill this bucket back up with the fresh water from the city, run it, that's going through our water filter system. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm just going to try to clear some of that vinegar out through the line here, so that way it's less that I have to do later. So we're going to fill this bucket back up, let it siphon it back up there again, and then once this bucket is empty again, we should see a little bit of water coming out of the pressure valve over here. So let's get this running. Okay, now we got water coming out from the pressure release, so we know we're good to go. It's filled up. All right, so a couple hours have passed, so we are going to start the process here of cleaning out the vinegar and getting everything back to normal. So first things first, we're going to turn the water heater back off. So we're basically going to do everything that we just did, just in a reverse order pretty much. Now normally you probably want to let this sit overnight and let it really get in there and clean it, but time restraints, we're traveling soon. Okay, and now we also want water to flow through the water heater again, so we're going to turn the bypass off and make sure that it's flowing. So now we have it set up for city water, and we're going to turn the city water right back on. And now we're going to go turn on all the faucets and get all the hot water flowing out of here. Now if you're standing in here, I don't recommend it, because all you're going to smell is a super strong smell of vinegar, which means that that's what you want. It means that the vinegar went into the hot water, into the water heater, and now we are getting it all out of the system. So we're going to run this until we don't smell vinegar anymore, and then we're going to go outside and we're going to flush it again, and then it'll be time to just put the new anode rod in and we will be done. All right, so now we turn the city water back off. We are going to just basically do everything that we already did when we were taking out the anode rod, except now we're doing it in order to just take out the little fitting that we have in there. So we're going to release the pressure here. Should be all cold water in there. And then we're going to take out the cap that we had in there. And then we're going to flush it with the wand again. And then we are going to run some water through it. And then after that, we're going to put the anode rod in, and then we're good to go. So we're going to give it another little flush here. That's what happens when you're trying to record and do stuff all at the same time. You get a little wet. So we'll let this completely drain out, and then we will put the anode rod back in and then go from there. To help with the drying process of everything, I'm just going to throw some paper towels down in here and just try to scrape off some of this residue that came out and some of this dried up, just dry up some of this water. All right, so let's get this let's get some of this water off. So let's get this fresh new anode rod in. Look how nice that looks. So we're just going to get it in here, we're going to tighten it up, and then once we do that, we'll turn the water back on, but we're going to keep the pressure valve open up still, and we're going to wait for the tank to fill all the way up, so that way once we see water coming out of here, then we know for sure that the tank is totally filled up. And then we're going to turn it back on, and we'll just run the water for a good 20 minutes or so and just let it filter everything else out. Put that new anode rod in. Make sure you get it in at just the right angle, because you might be sitting there turning it and it feel like it's not going to fit. You got the wrong size. Has to go in very specific. You got to thread it just right. So make sure you get it in just right. Don't overturn it. But we got it in now. We got the water on. So we're just going to wait to see water coming out of here. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to go back inside, turn the water heater on, and we'll give it about 5-10 minutes or so to run. And then from there, then we're going to purge all the lines and just run the water, and then we're all done. So the electric element and the propane is now working to heat up the water. I don't know if you can hear it. We give it about 10 minutes or so. At least get some hot water. Just make sure we did everything right. Fingers crossed we're getting hot water. And then we're just gonna run the lines for, like I said, like 20 minutes non-stop. And that's it, we should be done. So let's do that part, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, so we have hot water, everything's working. The water heater is running again because I'm running the water in there, so everything's good to go. Now we won't need to change this anode rod again for about a year, which we will not descale it every single time we change the anode rod, so it'll take a lot less time to do it, 15-20 minutes tops. But I hope you enjoyed this maintenance type of video, changing the anode rod on your water heater. If you like this type of video, comment down below, and we will definitely do a lot more of these type of videos. If you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, right here, @Type1Detour, and we'll see you on the next one.